So I titled my message today, New Year, New You. Everybody does the New Year's resolution thing. You say you want a resolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world. And that's the truth. But the thing to do is like Michael Jackson said, take a look at yourself in the mirror. I done did the Beatles and Michael Jackson. You knew it was going to happen. See, the thing is, everybody thinks we flip a page on a calendar and everything's going to be different. It's 2020 all of a sudden. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm not going to crave sweets. And I'm going to have the desire to exercise and get in better shape and push away from the table. I'm going to read my Bible more. And then you wake up the next day and you kind of feel like the same person, just sleepier because you sat and watched the ball drop in New York. And you realize it's going to take some work. Yeah, there's only one January 1st. There's only one January 12th as well. Each day is a new opportunity. Each day brings new opportunities. Exodus 19:3 says that, and I'm reading from the NLT, says that then Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God. A couple of weeks ago, Melissa talked about having to climb a mountain. And she talked about the difficulty she had going up the trail. And here's the thing. We read that verse, and we read it so quickly, and we don't even think about how tough it was for Moses to get up the mountain. There were no escalators. There were no elevators at the bottom of the mountain to carry him up. He wasn't just transported to the top of the mountain. See, everybody wants a mountaintop experience. But nobody wants to have to climb the mountain. See, we talk about our walks, we talk about our steps. You got to make that climb. To get up to here, to get to that next level, you've got to be willing to work for it. And the thing is, if you got to be willing to work for it, you got to have a plan. See, everybody says 2020 is my year. I've seen it on Facebook. I mean, a lot of people have posted, 2020 is going to be my year. Great things are going to happen. I'm so excited about 2020. But you can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. You can't just sit back and wait for good things to come to you. Yes, the Lord can send you good things, but He expects us to get out and work. He expects us to get our part, to do our part. I'm going to pick on my brother right here for a second. He told me several weeks ago that he had a goal. And his goal was to lose a certain amount of weight by a certain time. And I thought to myself, that's a pretty big goal. But guess what? He's 3 pounds away. He's 3 pounds away. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't just sit back and say, yeah, I want to lose weight. I'm just going to wait for it to fall off. Praise the Lord. Amen. Yeah. Bring me 2 desserts. Yeah, I remember. But he had to work. It wasn't easy. He had to take those steps. Can't just sit back and wait for good things to happen. You need a plan. Resolutions are good. But in order to accomplish our goals, there has to be a plan. Every week at work, and I work in a grocery store, we have a new ad start. And each time the new ad starts, we have to tear down old end caps and put up new ones and build new displays and everything in conjunction with the new ad. So what we do is the co-manager and myself, we get together at the end of each week and we make what we call a planner. We have a plan going into the following week for what we're going to do. This is going here, that's going there, we're going to move this back to here, and we've got a plan. And most of you guys don't really pay that much attention that, oh, that end cap's different from it was the last time I came in, or you know, these items are different. You know, you just come in and you see the store and you see the items that are in the ad, and you're like, oh, okay, there they are, that's what I'm looking for. For $4, I'm going to get 6. There you go. So, and people get confused about that too, but never mind. And we have a plan, but invariably, an employee will come to you and say, what you want me to do? And I'll say, well, we've got a planner. It's laying up on register 6, and it tells you each and everything that needs to be done. And then they just stare at you. And then you say, okay, you just go to the back room and load this up and bring it to me. Okay, and I'll show you. Because they don't want to look at or follow the plan. That's beyond where they're at. They just want it spoon-fed to them. And that's a lot of our problem a lot of times. We don't want to have to make that plan. We don't want to have to go that extra step and say, okay, in order for me to do this, here are the steps that I need to take. I need to have a plan. What if the goal seems too far to achieve? In other words, I want to lose this much weight, but that's a big number. Well, you start smaller, right? You start with that first pound. There's an old Chinese proverb that says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you've probably heard it all of your life, but think about it. You're not going anywhere until you take that very first step. I couldn't be standing before you preaching right now if I hadn't stepped from there to there. From there to there. If I hadn't left the house this morning, I had to take the steps. Psalm 37:23 said, the Lord directs the steps of the godly. He's going to direct our steps if we're godly. We always begin with enthusiasm at the beginning of the year. It's always, yes, this is our year. New year, new you. We can do this. We can do this. Did you know that 81% break their New Year's resolutions? That's 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 5. I mean, look around. 2 people to the left of you, 2 people to the right have probably broken their resolution. It happens. But the thing is, we don't need to give up. We need to keep on keeping on. I'm going to read from a story to you from 2 Kings chapter 5. And this is the story about Naaman. It begins, the king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him the Lord had given Aram great victories. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. And of course, the footnote there in the Bible says that leprosy could have been any number of different skin diseases. We're not sure that it was the actual, what we define as leprosy today. But he's suffering from this disease, and he's not happy about it. At this time, Aramean raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a young girl who had been given to Naaman's wife as a maid. One day the girl said to her mistress, I wish my master would go see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy. So this girl knew about Elisha. He knew, or she knew, that Elisha was a man of God that could perform miracles. And she would like to see Naaman be healed. So she makes that comment to her mistress. And so Naaman tells the king what the young girl from Israel has said. Go and visit the prophet, the king of Aram told him. I'll send a letter of introduction for you to take to the king of Israel. So Naaman started out, carrying gifts of 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter to the king of Israel said, with this letter I present my servant Naaman. I want you to heal him of his leprosy. So he took payment with him. You know, he was prepared to do what he had to do. When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and said, am I God that I can give life and take it away? Why is this man asking me to heal someone with leprosy? I can see that he's just trying to pick a fight with me. So the king was freaking out. You know, what am I supposed to do about this? I can't do anything. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes in dismay, he sent this message to him. I'm sure he was watching it on TMZ or saw it on his cell phone or something. And he said, well, there's the king. He's upset about something. You know, and the news feeds were all talking about it. But he was like, why is the king upset? And he found out. So he sends word to the king. Says, why are you so upset? Send him to me, and he will learn that there is a true prophet here in Israel. I'll take care of this. I got this. Don't worry about it. Keep your clothes on. So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house, but Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message. Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored and you will be healed of your leprosy. Well, Naaman became angry and stalked away. That ain't what he wanted to hear. Naaman was kind of thinking one or two things. One, there's going to be this elaborate plan that I'm going to have to follow through, or he's just going to come out and wave his Harry Potter wand over me and everything's going to be okay. I'm going to have leprosy gone. I thought he would certainly come out to meet me. I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call the name of the Lord and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus, the Abama and the Parthar, better than any of the rivers in Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed? So Naaman turned and went away in a rage. I'm done. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I got things to do. I got wars to win. I got people to fight. But his officers tried to reason with him and said, Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it? So you should certainly obey him when he simply says, go and wash and be cured. So Naaman went down to the Jordan River and dipped himself 7 times as the man of God had instructed him, and his skin became clear. His skin became healthy as the skin of a young child, and he was healed. So here's the thing, though. What if Naaman had dipped 3 times and got up and said, this ain't working? This ain't doing nothing, and I feel silly. I'm wet, and I still got leprosy. It's time to go. It's easy to make plans. It's easy to have goals. It's easy to make a resolution. But it's not always easy to follow through. Peter is the disciple that walked on water. But he's also the disciple who denied Jesus. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 times a denial. And he could have given up right then. The Bible says he wept bitterly, and he could have walked away. I've messed up. It happens to us. It happens to Christians all the time. We mess up, and then we give up. Whether it's spiritual, whether it's ordering 2 desserts when you're on a diet, whether it's whatever. We mess up, we give up. But you keep on reading. Peter didn't give up. In fact, in the 2nd chapter of Acts, Peter preached a message to thousands, what was probably the first gospel message. To thousands of people, and the word tells us that 3,000 or more than 3,000 men and women were saved that day and added to the numbers of the church. More than 3,000 from a man who could easily have given up. We need a plan. Remember, a goal without a plan is just a dream. I work with people, and different ones are talking about, hey, we did this on our vacation, we're going there or something, and you got others and say, man, I wish I could do that. And that's the thing. You can't just stand there and wish you could go here or wish you could do that. You've got to make a plan. You've got to say, hey, you know what? We're going to do that one day. We're going to go, and we're going to plan this thing out, but I've got to start with the first step. I've got to start here. It's not all just going to be, we're going to jump in the car and take off to Disney next week. You've got to have a plan. People say, oh, I wish I could. I wish we would. You can't just wish. You can't just dream. You need a plan. When you plan, you need to think long term, not just short term. See, short term is all about wants and desires for right now. This is all I want is right now. But long term sees the bigger picture. For Christians, long term can see eternity. It's not just about this short time here on earth. It's about the eternity that we're going to spend with the Savior. And how do our plans reflect that? Think about playing. Anybody here play chess? A few of you. Anybody play checkers? Most of you, okay. If you play checkers or chess, you've got to think long term. You can't just think immediately. If you're thinking immediately about just that one next move, you're going to get beat. But if you're thinking moves in advance, and how can I set this up, and how can I set that up, then you're strategizing. You're thinking long term, and you're going to be able to ultimately probably win unless you're playing someone who's thinking better than you are. In Genesis 25, Esau was definitely thinking short term. He was hungry. I'm hungry, so I'm willing to give up my birthright because I want some stew and I want it now. Because I've been out in the woods, I've been hunting, I've been doing this, McDonald's is closed, I can't get anything from Hardee's, I need something right now. It's late, I'm hungry. He's thinking short term. He's not thinking about the big picture. He's not thinking long term. What kind of trip would you have? Let's say we talked about Disney World. You plan a trip to Disney World. You and the kids are going, the grandkids, whoever. We're all going to Disney World, all right? I'm taking the whole church. We're going to load up in my truck. I'm driving. Y'all ride where you can get. So we get excited. We make out our little list. We research the different parks, what's here, what's there, what are we going to do. We decide what we're going to pack. You write it out weeks in advance. Here's my packing list. I got to wear this, and I've got to have that. Make sure we take this. So here we go. We're leaving this early in the morning. We're heading off. We're going to make that long journey to Florida. And we get to Smithfield, and look over there. That's the outlets. Look at all those restaurants. That's nice. That's nice. So we pull in, and we just start having fun. And we start having short-term thinking because now we've forgotten about Florida. We've forgotten about Disney, and the whole goal was Disney in the first place. And your family would be a whole lot happier if you get them to Disney because they've been excited about it, and especially these kids. They've been looking forward. I say the kids. I'm worse than the kids. And they look forward to this, and the kids like myself, want to go to the Star Wars land and see all the Star Wars stuff and go, ooh, and get my picture taken. But you stop at the malls, and you're like, oh, this is nice. We've got food here, and we've got places to shop, and we've got different things that we can do. Why do we need to go all the way to Florida? Let's just stop here. Because that's short-term thinking. It says you're giving up on your goals. You're not going to follow through on what you wanted to do. You want that instant gratification. So never mind how much happier you'd be if you all saw your plans through all the way to the end. You're just like, we're here now. Let's just enjoy this. It'll be fine. The kids won't know the difference. Put them on one of those little, 50-cent horses that he'll rock it back and forth and just, there's your ride. You're good. Take a picture. You're good. We're good. Let's go home now. It's too much work. Too much traveling. It's too far to go. I don't want how to do all that. Numbers 8 and 2 says to give Aaron the following instructions. When you set up 7 lamps in the lampstand, place them so their light shines forward in front of the lampstand. The 2 words I'm emphasizing are shines forward. God doesn't want us to walk looking like this. He wants us to face forward. He wants us to look at what's coming. Too many people like to live in the past. Too many people like to either wait on their past defeats and let that hold them back, or just live through their past victories and talk about how good it was back in the day. But the thing is, we need to be facing forward. We need to be shining forward. Even in setting up the tabernacle, God is letting us know that we need to look forward. Philippians 3:13, Paul says that forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. Look forward. Make those plans. Plans those step out. Or plan your steps out. Do what you've got to do. While we are on our journey of self-improvement, we need to pay attention to the signs that are around us. Before GPS, we had to read maps. And I remember my uncle and I would plan out a trip, and we would open a map. And he used to be a truck driver, so he was better at it than me, but he taught me how to kind of read a map and read road signs. And you would look for this road and that, and you just continue it till you got to a junction for that road, and you could find it. You could plan out a route on a map. You could go that way, and you could find it. GPS makes it so much easier now. You just punch in an address, and the little voice tells you what to do. But a lot of times you're traveling along, and there's a detour. And GPS doesn't know about the detour. You say, and turn here, and you're like, well, I can't turn there because there's a big sign that says road closed. What am I supposed to do now? God's going to put those signs up for you sometimes. Sometimes you think, okay, I've got this. I'm going the way that he's got me going. I'm heading this way. I'm on the right path. Coming up here just a little ways, I'm going to take this left, but all of a sudden there's a big road closed sign. Why does God do that? Why does God allow that? Usually it's for our own safety. Usually so, he'll say, you're not ready for what's down this road just yet. And me, because I love you, is I'm going to shut this road off for you and send you a different way. And in your immediate thinking, you're like, this is bad. Now I'll never find my way. But God has this. God's going to get you to where you're going if you pay attention to those little orange signs that say detour. Just follow them. And he's going to get you back to where you need to be. And it may not be the best and easiest route, But a lot of times he's got plans for us. He's got something else down this detour that he wants to take us to, that he wants us to see. He's got something there that we need. And we may not realize it at the time. And then you look back and say, wait a minute. Even though that was uncomfortable, it turned out to be one of the best experiences of my life. Jeremiah 1:10 says, today I appoint you to stand up against nations and kingdoms. Some you must uproot and tear down, destroy and overthrow. Others you must build up and plant. Who's ever watched HGTV? There's all these renovation shows that come on, and they'll go into these old houses that have been misused and abused and just gotten old, and they've got termite damage, and they've got this and that going on. And one of the first things they've got to do is start tearing away. And I always looks like the funnest part of the job to me is taking the big old hammer and just tearing stuff to pieces. I'm like, I could do that. I can't build anything, but I can tear stuff up. It's a gift. And even when I in the past, I helped tear down some, redo some houses, but the tearing down part was always the most fun because I could get violent. I could just hit stuff and kick stuff, and it didn't matter because it was all getting taken out anyway. You know, but sometimes we have to tear things down in order to build them back up. How many how many of you all in here watch football? I know one guy does. Yeah. I want to give you all a very serious and somewhat embarrassing situation. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. And here's the thing. The Miami Dolphins went to the 2019 season with a plan. They got rid of all of their starters from the season before, all of their big name players. But we knew going in that there was a plan. We knew that we were going to be bad this year. We knew that it was going to be a long season because we were stockpiling draft picks, stockpiling money for free agency. We had things in place for the future. Now, there are fans of certain other teams in here who didn't have that plan going into the season. Y'all just sucked. And I ain't calling no names, Miles. But it's honestly, and we've talked about this, it's honestly easier to accept a losing season when you know that there's a plan in place. When you know that before the season began that your team had a plan in place. And that they said, yes, this season's going to be hard to watch. It's going to be aggravating to get through. You're going to sometimes not want to admit that you're a Dolphins fan. But just wait. Because we have a plan. And better things are coming. And that's the thing. You've got to have that plan, and you've got to think beyond right now. You've got to think beyond what's for lunch today. It's a good question, Joyce. Just think on that one for a minute. You've got to think beyond the here and now and start thinking further. You've got to start thinking about your eternity. You've got to start thinking down the road. Here's a helpful hint that's while you're on the road to the new you. You need to learn to accept criticism. Let me ask you this. Does criticism cause you to give up and say, I'm a loser? Or does it cause you to say, I can be better? See, a lot of that has to do with how you're thinking up here. Somebody say, you sang well today, but, you know, I kind of wish you done this or that. If they're not being ugly, if they're trying to be truly helpful about it, learn to accept it. Now, some people are going to be negative anyway. I don't care what you do, they're going to be negative, and those are the kind of people you need to tune out anyway. You know, we've talked about this before as well. But some people can honestly try to help you, but some people don't want to be helped. Sometimes you're going to dig your feet in and say, it's just who I am. It's the way God made me. God made you with a mind and a free will and the ability to change and become better. And He expects us to become better. And a lot of times He'll send people into our path that'll say, hey, this might help you. And if you say, this can help me, I can get better, I can improve, I can be better next time than I was this time. No matter what it is you're doing, that's the kind of attitude God expects from us. So how can you begin? Well, Romans 13, 11, and 12 says, this is all the more urgent for you. Know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up, for our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The night is almost gone. The day of salvation will soon be here. So remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes and put on the shining armor of right living. So the first thing that Paul is telling the Romans in that passage is to know what time it is. He says, you know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up. How many of you guys get woke up by an alarm clock in the morning? How many of you guys pretty much hate that alarm clock? I don't even let mine go off. I wake up 5-10 minutes before the thing ever goes off because I don't want to hear it. If the clock wakes me up, I wake up mad because that thing woke me up. If I wake up on my own and beat the clock up, I just turn the alarm off and I'm okay. When that clock wakes me up, I don't want to get out of bed. It's comfortable. It's warm. It's nice. I don't want to start the day. But if I do it on my own terms, it's a lot better. When the clock wakes me up, interrupted my dream. It was a good dream. I was at Disney World. The entire church was with me. It says, wake up from our slumber. He's talking about a spiritual slumber here. A lot of times we'll get so comfortable. We'll just kind of cruise through things. Not you. We'll just kind of let ourselves be on cruise control, and we're not really even paying attention. You're driving down the interstate, and you've been driving for a while. It gets easy just to not pay close attention. We were coming back from Florida several years ago. Yeah, I'm still in Florida, y'all. We were coming back several years ago. It was back in 2003, in fact, and my dad gets distracted by a mattress on the side of the road. And what does he do? He hits the car in front of him because he allowed himself to be distracted. He said, well, that's a perfectly good mattress. I wonder who... Well, now that we're stopped, do you want it? The final thing Paul tells us is to get properly dressed. He says to remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes and put on the shining armor of right living. You're wondering how to get started. Wake up. Quit sleeping. Pay attention to what time it is. Get rid of your old clothes. Put on something new. And don't forget to ask God to help you with your plans. In Acts 7 and 10, Stephen's talking, and he says that God gave Joseph favor before Pharaoh and unusual wisdom. Favor and wisdom. James 1 and 5, of course, says if you need wisdom, ask your generous God, and he will give it to you. But just a couple of chapters down, in 3:15, James also says, for jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. So often we'll say, he lost 20-some pounds. Why can't I? Casey's built like the Incredible Hulk. Why can't I be? I joined the gym. I bought a Bowflex. I have a treadmill upstairs. Don't use any of it. But I want big muscles. What's wrong with this picture? See, the thing is, Ray has climbed his mountain. Casey has climbed his mountain. You've got to climb your own mountain. You've got to make your own way. You can't get distracted by looking at where somebody else is. Remember, jealousy caused Cain to kill Abel. Jealousy caused Joseph to be sold into slavery by his brothers. It was jealousy of Moses that caused Korah, Dathan, and Abiram to be put to death because they were jealous. Jealousy is dangerous. You've got to make your own way. You can't say, well, he's on the mountaintop. He's got it made. He climbed the mountain, y'all. He put the work in. She put the work in. They did what they had to do. Remember, the people that you're watching have climbed their mountain, and climbing's not easy. Climbing a mountain is not easy. If you've ever been to the mountains, even walking up and down the trails, it's not easy. Those things can get steep. You get tired. But ask yourself this. At what times in my life have I grown closer to God? At what times in my life have I found it easier to read His Word and to pray regularly? If you're honest with yourself, it's probably when you were down here. You're going through a tough time. Things are not easy. There are storms. There are everything in the world that you can think of to go wrong starts to go wrong. You get bad news from the doctor. You have bad news on this front. You have bad news on that front. You got bad news on November 13th. But you prayed. You probably drew closer to God because of it. And you're able to stand up here this morning and give a testimony. This is where God has brought me from. This is the mountain that I've climbed with His help. And that's just it. When I was in the hospital with cancer, I prayed regularly. I read His Word regularly. Sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I was reading His Word. But I was afraid. I was going through a difficult time. And I knew where my sustainer was. So a lot of times when you're going through those tough times, when you're on those detours, when God has sent you in a direction that you weren't expecting, sometimes He's saying, I need you to get closer to me. Because a lot of times, whether we like to admit it or not, when things are going great, it's easy to get up in the morning and not spend that extra few minutes in prayer. It's easy to get up and not take the time to read His Word this morning. You know, things are just going good. You know, I'll read it tomorrow. Everything's good. But when you're hurting, you want that Word because you want that comfort. You want that time of prayer because you want that comfort that comes from Him wrapping His arms around you. So it's not always going to be easy, but there's a reason for that. No matter what your resolution or goals are, you need to have a plan in place. You could be talking something physical or something emotional or something spiritual, but you still need to have that plan in place. You still need to have those step-by-step goals. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Your 1,000-mile journey starts with the first step, and that first step needs to be God. Ray Jr., if you'll come to the piano. I don't know about you guys, but I mess up every day. Pastor said earlier there are no halos here, and I certainly don't wear one. In fact, I remember once years ago I was in a Christmas play, and I had a halo on because I was playing an angel in a choir, and it just kept falling down. And my mom just thought that was just so appropriate because, yeah, that's what would happen if he had a halo. But I'm not perfect. I mess up. I say things I wish I could take back after they've been said. I do things I wish I hadn't done or wish I'd done differently. You know, I have to work on myself. I've made resolutions this year. I've made resolutions to try to be a better person. And I've got several specific things in my own mind that I know I need to work on, that God has shown me in my life. You need to work on this area. You need to be better over here. You need to pay more attention to the way you do this. But I also know that I can't just wake up and because I've flipped a page on a calendar expect all that stuff just to be gone. And I'm just going to have the right attitude every day. And I'm just going to be able to easily do what He's called me to do. I've got to work at it. I've got to get a plan in place that starts with that first step, that starts with acknowledging God and the fact that without Him I can do nothing. I've got to take that first step on this 1,000-mile journey and say, Lord, be with me. Help me. Now, some of you sitting here may not even be a Christian this morning. I don't know. We talked about recognizing your walk and if people would know you're a Christian from your walk, but you may not have even taken that first step. I don't know. If you haven't, this is your day. You don't have to wait until January 1st, 2021. Each day is unique unto itself, and God has a unique plan for each and every one of us. Each person here, God has His hand upon. Now, all we've got to do is acknowledge Him and give our lives to Him. The majority of you here, I believe, are Christians. And we may all be Christians. I don't know. Like I say, I can't see into your heart like that. But the thing is, even as Christians, we all want to improve. We all want to get better. And we need to take that first step. You may have made your New Year's resolution and you may be doing great. You may not have missed a single day of exercise. You may not have eaten sweets or drinking a soda or drunk a soda all year long. You might be doing amazing. I don't know. You may have read your Bible every single day and really gotten into the Word and had God just, through His Spirit, just open your eyes and reveal new things to you about His Word. If that's you, man, I applaud you. That's great. Praise the Lord. But you might be struggling. You might be wondering why you're on this detour. You might be wondering why it is that while you thought your journey was going to be pretty simple, straight shot from here to there, God suddenly thrown up roadblocks and put you on detours and said, no, you need to go around this way. And it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it at the end, because you'll look back and realize, I'm a better person for what I've gone through. I'm closer to God now because of what I've gone through. So I'm going to invite Pastor Ray back up, and we're going to open these altars. And for whatever reason, whether you need Christ in your heart or you just need help from Him with your plan, of taking that first step. Because a lot of times the first step's the hardest. Once you start, the next one's a little easier. Then the next one, the next one. New year, new you. But remember, don't give up. You may fail. You're probably going to fail. Don't give up. Keep trying. And again, we're going to open these altars. I just pray you guys will just come and give it to God.
Give Him a big hand. Would you stand with me, please? I was looking at some notes this week from the week that Jenny and I came here nine and a half years ago. And I talked about the life cycle. Every ministry, every department has a life cycle. Every church has a life cycle. Everything has a life cycle. And I want to spend time on that. It just connects so great with what Pastor Rich has taught us this morning. And sometimes in that life cycle, you have to take a loop. In other words, you can't just keep doing the same old thing. You will get the same results, especially when the life cycle is coming to a close. If you want to keep it active and alive, you loop it to a new life cycle. In other words, that's what a lot of people do on January the 1st. They take the loop for a new year, a new me. In this building today, I really believe that He has spoke to our hearts. People that really want to. Paul said he had a battle with this flesh. He said, there's things I want to do, but I want to do this, but I do this, and there's a war going on. But the last thing Pastor Rich said is it starts with God. And our allegiance to Him, it's all about Him. It's not about this one or that one. It's about Him, pleasing to Him. So today, being willing to say, I want to take the loop. I want it to be a new year. I want it to be a new me. I want people to say, you know what? I've been noticing you don't even act like you used to act. There's something that's happened to you. Some years ago, we changed our Sunday. We took away Sunday school and we moved it to Wednesday night. And we called it Kingdom Connection. And where our Sunday school was dying and our Wednesday night services were dying, the loop caused incredible increase. It was a whole different approach. This morning, at this altar time, what is it that you need God to do in your life? Is it to get in this word more and be devoted more to hearing from Him? Because you can hear from Him if you'll just listen to His word. Pastor Richie's given us so many great instructions and things to think about today. How has it applied to your life? And is there something that you'd like to bring to this altar this morning and say, Lord, I want to go the way you want me to go. And I'm asking you, God, to loop me into the new me. Loop me into being the person that you've called me to be. That others will say, and I can tell something's happened to her. And I don't know, on the 12th of January, I don't know, something.